Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Alrighty, we are going to talk about marijuana stocks again. I think I've been trading these for the last couple of weeks here. I've picked up 95 and 50% on my last two trades, and then I moved back into them today. I want to show you guys three charts. I'm going to compare them, and then I'll let you guys decide what you want to do. If you're over, and please don't take offense to this, if you're over the age of 50, I'm going to talk a little bit some of the health benefits, I believe, of marijuana. And the reason I said if you're over 50, you've got 5+ decades of your government telling you that it's terrible for you. And I was in that same boat. I never touched the stuff. I believed everything I heard growing up. If you guys had DARE as a kid, it's like DARE to keep kids off drugs. Marijuana was super bad. So I stayed away from it, as all my friends were doing it in high school, as all my friends were doing it in college. I stayed away from it. I moved to Colorado. They legalized it. My wife, who did it a little bit in high school, was like, hey, let's try it. And I have since stopped drinking alcohol almost completely, and I think this stuff has way more health benefits than alcohol. So I want to compare those a little bit, and then I'm going to show you where or why I moved back into weed stocks. Also, if I have time today, might be tomorrow. For anyone who has purchased my seminar, and I've told you guys this before, I like to try to add value. I'm going to put together about a 10-minute video on why you need to watch certain dates at the end of December and January, and you can make tremendous sums of cash using this tactic every single year, and it'll pay for the seminar itself. Now, granted, if you've already paid for the seminar, I'm going to send it out to you probably tomorrow, I would be my guess. But anybody new will just get that video as well before this month ends. So with that, and I also want to talk about Bitcoin. I got a question on Bitcoin. So I'm gonna do the Bitcoin thing first. I'll get that out of the way. Then we're gonna talk about marijuana for a second, and a position that I took today, and one that I closed out from Friday. Okay, let's start into Bitcoin here. So I'm going to take a little bit higher level view of Bitcoin. I know this channel is called Silver Liberties. My brother talks about cryptocurrencies more than I do. I personally think that metals are a better option than cryptocurrency, but I think cryptocurrency is a better option than fiat currency. So, and again, too, you could feel free to disagree with that, but I'm just going to go through some charting. So if we take a little bit higher level view, and that just simply means going back a long time. Everybody knows we had this huge run up. I did a video on it where we talked about the CFTC came out for your and my benefit. They destroyed the Bitcoin bubble. It was close to 20,000. The thing fell all the way down to about 3,000. They, of course, never will do this with housing. Just things that compete with them. So to me, too, when you see stuff like that, that means they're scared of Bitcoin. They don't have control over it. They don't have the ability to tax it. And then you kind of see this in the chart. So they popped it up here. We went all the way down to 3,000. A lot of stuff will fall 80% or so before it puts in a bottom. That's essentially what Bitcoin did. You had panic selling here. I mean, this thing is 90 degrees down, right? This is when everybody started to unload. Smart money started to move in. We were having all types of news around this area, or actually it was more like over here where that banks, the banks that are telling you not to buy the stuff and that it's scary, and drug lords use this stuff, and like drug lords don't use the dollar. I mean, it's literally the most used currency in the drug trade is the dollar. So they're trying to tell you that it's Bitcoin because you can't trace it, but it's ridiculous. Anyway, so they started to move in. You do have volume coming up as this put in. What is this? I've been talking about this the last few days. This is a nice base. This is kind of base one. So anytime you have a huge run up like this and then it fails, when you first see this is your first base, okay? So then it busted out of this. You see all this consolidation here. Big panic sell down, and then it moved up to here. And if I zoom in a little bit, we'll start to concentrate on this base, because this stuff now is all kind of history, and it, to me, is less important moving forward. But we have this giant base, kind of looks like gold, right? You have volume coming up on the right side. See that? So that's good buying. You know that big money is entering into Bitcoin, and I'm looking at the ticker symbol BTC USD. This is Bitcoin tracked in US dollars. If a lot of crypto guys don't do this, they always say you should compare it to other cryptos or whatnot, but whatever. I live in the United States. I like to use stuff in the dollar. And then this thing is spiked out of that base. Nice move higher. It's exactly what gold did, right? So essentially, an up move out of the breakout zone, went sideways. Looks like a bull flag to a degree. Shot up, and that's been kind of going sideways. And now, what has it done? It's pulled back and basically retested the breakout zone. So I think the low on Bitcoin is probably already in at 6,500. Now, the only negatives to this right now, when I'm looking at this, it is below its moving averages, which is a negative. This pattern right here is somewhat bearish because you have we put in like a new high here, not taking out the old high, but in the short run out of that base, we had a new high, and it's just been kind of a bunch of lower highs, and then we're also getting lower lows. But I think that the low is probably in. Now, should this come down here and test this, that's still fine. If that breaks, Bitcoin, I think, is in a lot of trouble. I think it would come down here somewhere and test the bottom of this base. Now, I don't foresee that happening for all the stuff my brother Tim and I talk about on the channel, right? I mean, almost every single, at least one day a week, they're pumping in north of hundreds of billions of dollars while your safety valves are getting crushed. And then they come out and gloat about how they did that to anyone that, was involved in this. It's really quite disgusting. And it's the absence of free market, which is what really bothers me. I don't really care what they do. I just wish they, and this is just my wish, and it's who cares what I think, right? But I just wish they'd be more honest and then stop messing with escape valves. They're going to crush everybody, and that's the only thing that really kind of scares me right now. So right now, if you're anti debt, if you're anti money printing, I think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, is getting close to a buy point. I would probably just I would take a much longer term view on this. I would put my stop at this pivot here, potentially down here. I know that's a big move, but if Bitcoin moves like it's like an option almost. So it could easily come down here, and then all of a sudden we find out that Bitcoin's up at 20,000. But I think this move is setting up ultimately to attack the recent highs. And I did just hear too, being here in Colorado, the Winklevoss twins potentially are putting a giant mining rig here in Denver. So, these guys are multi-billionaires. People are still investing in this space, and I think a lot of the news that you hear is really just kind of BS. So I personally think the lows are in for Bitcoin down here. Nice busting out of the space, and it just looks like gold here. It's kind of, as the stock market moves higher and higher on lower volume, gold and Bitcoin and stuff has been kind of just meandering lower, but it's not like it's crashing down like it used to. And both gold and Bitcoin are kind of coming into support levels, and they look eerily similar. And that's another reason I've been saying I think next year, if these kind of come down and test or have already put in a bottom, next year these are setting up to move a lot higher. This thing can go sideways for a couple months like this, and it would be setting up base 2, which means it would assault around this 13, 14 level. If you can kind of envision a base coming up here, then it's going to move to new highs. And like I've told you guys before, typically when you break out of the second base, that's when you get the most price appreciation. So if this thing was to vault out of here, it would test double top, probably have a pullback, and then we're moving to new highs. And I have no idea where Bitcoin's going to go. I mean, I see people, you listen to like McAfee, who's talking about it being multiple millions of dollars. And you look at the math, I don't think that that's crazy. I'm sure any of you guys have followed Catherine Austin Fitz or Mark Skidmore. I think that's the guy. He's a professor at a major college. There's $21 trillion in the United States has gone missing. I mean, that money's got to go somewhere. We're pumping in hundreds of billions on a weekly basis. So the fiat currency is in trouble. Anyway, that was a lot longer than I wanted to spend on there. So let's jump into some marijuana stocks. So when I started the video with good old Cheech and Chong here, I really never used marijuana whatsoever. I think I smoked it once, twice in college after being, after like probably 50 beers or whatever it is I was doing in college. I drank a lot in college. I think it was like a lot of people did, but I stayed away from the stuff because I believed all of the negative news surrounding it. And when I And again too, I've been in the health and fitness world for 15 years, so this is coming from or at least I like to think from a health perspective. Most of the negatives associated with marijuana are through the act of smoking it. So when I consume it, I do it in a gummy form, so it removes the smoking component. And here's a big difference between alcohol and marijuana. Alcohol is a depressant, and we have a lot of people walking. We have hundreds of millions of antidepressants prescribed every year as people continue to drink. It's an inflammatory. So yesterday I was talking about my turmeric, which I can link down in the description box again today if you guys want to pick that up. Turmeric essentially undoes any form of alcohol consumption. It lowers inflammation in the body, and most illnesses are caused from some form of inflammation in the body. Alcohol also affects your REM sleep, so you don't sleep as well, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and you don't repair on a cellular level. So it also ages you because you're not sleeping properly. Where marijuana is essentially all of the opposites of those. First of all, it costs a lot less. It's natural. It's a plant. If you don't smoke it, you don't have any of the negatives associated with smoking it. It's an anti-inflammatory, and it also helps you sleep at night. And there's different strains too. So one can energize you. I don't want to go all way off the deep end with it, but I believe what I'm saying right now, my generation and younger are more apt, I think, to consume marijuana, coupled with all of the financial stuff I've been talking about in the weed stocks the last couple of weeks. And then that video I'm going to put out to people who have already bought the seminar, and anyone in the future who buys the seminar will also tie into these marijuana stocks. And I think you're really going to enjoy that video, at least on the why perspective. So let's jump into these. And I kind of touched on this the other day, and I want to show you guys why I moved into these again today. So, I've caught basically all of this move, right? Got a 95% gain, a 50% gain. CGC here, I think, is the leader, or at least it's starting to look that way. Nice 3-bar surge higher, pulled back, maintained or consolidated above the 20, which is fantastic, before slicing through the 50 on nice volume. It's a nice breakout. I sold into that because we're into resistance here, and it's incredibly normal for something that's had a big move like this to pause. Now, this is probably going to pause for a couple days. It's probably going to consolidate again and then shoot out of this. So my target here on CGC, extreme kind of move here, which I think is actually likely, and I will cover this in that video I'll send out to subscribers, at least the why. I think this has the ability to move up over 30 and close that gap. I think at the very low end, I think this thing will move at least into this pivot here, which I know it's not a ton higher, but it's over 10% right here in a fairly short order. I think this could happen easily. Either of these moves, I think, can easily happen by February. So if you're trading options like I'm going to, there's a very easy or higher likelihood or probability that you can make a large percentage return on this. Now MJ here, and I kind of said this the other day, MJ, same thing, nice volume, 3-bar move higher. It has consolidated. It has not done what CGC has done yet. So I was saying yesterday, this is like a sympathy play. I moved into this today because we had nice pop on volume. It's kind of moved out of that consolidation range. It's hovering above its 20, and I think it's probably going to consolidate and follow CGC. So I could buy this because I think that this will continue to move first, but this hasn't had the same pop that CGC has, so I'm hoping or expecting to have the same kind of movement. Now, if I go and find targets on MJ, same kind of thing here. If I go look at one of these pivots, this is up at 18, right there. And then really, I think, you got a nice round number of 25 up here, and there's a little bit of consolidation with another pivot. I really think, and there's a little gap in here. I think somewhere in here is a really good target for MJ if you're able to hold on to this thing a little bit longer. So I would say it's like somewhere in here. And roughly, though, this move up to here, you're going from like 17 up to 25, and CGC potentially from 20 to 23, maybe all the way up to 30. And then Tilray here, and I was kind of thinking this too. These kind of like the silver miners, right? CGC to me right now is like pause. MJ would be like AG, like First Majestic. And then Tilray here looks like HL, Hecla mining. It continues to kind of underperform. But this thing, if it's able to get out of its own way, will play catch up much quicker to the upside. And I think this thing could easily go to 25. See that pivot over there? It just got to take out some of the stuff and get out of its own way. This is kind of the worst of the three, at least from a chart perspective. I've already made 95 and 50% on this one. It's already made a giant move. So I kind of keyed in today on MJ. And if you guys go back and look at my options video, I bought April 17 calls. It's pretty easy. It's out a couple months. That gives me, the next couple months for this to play out. And I bought in the money calls. So now I think you've got financial reasons or fundamental reasons to move into weed stocks. I've talked about how I think these could potentially be defensive plays. They're horribly beaten up over the last couple of years. I believe my generation and younger will start to consume this more than alcohol and take more market share. And these things are potentially at multi-year lows. And that's why I'm starting to move into these. And when things move from much higher levels, like way up here, and they get just destroyed like this, but the companies don't go away, they often have huge bounces back. I mean, here's another pivot right here around 23. I mean, I think MJ could easily get a $5-6 move. Actually, I should throw that in there too. It's pretty close to that one. I actually look how that lines up. Always does this, right? There's another pivot there. I think that's a pretty good. Target actually for MJ over the next few months. Now, does that mean that's for sure going to go up there? Nope. Does that mean you should go all in because I said that? Nope. Does that mean that this won't make a new low? No, it totally could. These things could get annihilated and go to zero. All it would take is some government law on a federal level to pass it and crush all these, which is why you never go all in, and you want to use stops. So my stop on this would be a new low, which I just absolutely don't see coming. Lastly here, I'm watching the SPY. Friday on that huge jobs number, and I was laughing. Because I was just all like kind of pissed off. It was just like ridiculous when you take 5 seconds to actually look at the number. Some in the comments section said, "Hey, you got triggered," and then they wrote, "I love it," and I just started laughing at that because they're kind of right. I mean, it's just like so ridiculous watching this stuff, and I try not to get emotional. It's really hard when the average Joe, I think, just eats up any information that's thrown at them. They don't question it. They just see that the economy's good. They see their 401k is good, and then they go about their weekend. They go to happy hour or whatever, and they spend some money because their 401k went up because the president said some stuff that might not be true. So on Friday, I had actually purchased the. I didn't do the VIX. I did the VIXY, or that's what I like to call it. It's essentially the same thing. I just picked that up on Friday. It was less of a technical reason other than volume was terrible on Friday, and it was on just stupid news. So I sold it this morning. I didn't make much. I made 16%, but it was you had that pop up here, came back in, and then another nice pop. But the volume's still not behind anything in the VIX here. So the green bars are positive, but there's just not a lot of volume. It's not like something over here. So I don't really know what to make of this. And we have a Fed meeting on Wednesday. We're heading into what's potentially going to be another Santa rally, which seems to happen most years. I know last year was not the case, but most years that is not the case. So I sold this morning, and then I actually just flipped long. I bought the SPY just because I think we're probably going to go up and push to a new high, like I said the other day. So do I believe in any of this? Nope. Am I tired of watching the stock market just continue to go higher on silly news and no volume? Yeah, sure. So I took a small position in this. I took about a 3/4 of a position. It's not even a full position. Any move to the new high, I'll probably get another $1 or $2 on the SPY, and then I think we're going to see some selling into January and February. And yesterday's volume, by the way, was horrible. We've almost got what time is it? It's 10 a.m. Colorado time. We almost have the entire day's volume from yesterday. Yesterday, it closed after hours, like a little over 30 million, and it's literally pathetic, which was interesting to see that the market was even down, but I think people are just sitting around waiting for the Fed to say something. There was issue potentially with, Trump. That's actually what they did this morning. I guess in the pre-market, Trump came out and was like, yeah, I'm not going to raise tariffs. So it's like The China thing is just an absolute disaster. I think I've been saying it for the whole time, the last long time. I think it's a lie. I think we're being told mistruths, and I just prefer to focus. This is why I prefer technicals. They can come around and say anything they want. It doesn't even have to be factual, and I try to just watch charts. So. I kind of thought one of the reasons I picked up that VIX call too, or the VIXy call too. I thought maybe we might close a gap here, but that's probably as close as we're going to get. It's pre-market news that we're not going to raise tariffs on China, which now I don't see why China doesn't have to negotiate negotiate at all. So anyway, who cares? That stuff is getting so old to even talk about. I don't even like talking about it anymore. And with that, I'm gonna turn this off and have a great day, guys. See you.